3 years passed. 3 years of secret work. 3 years of building something that no one in the galaxy knew existed. Commander Victoria Hayes stood in the underground facility buried deep beneath the Earth's surface. The facility was called the Sentinel Base, and it was a marvel of human engineering. Humans had taken technology from the Galactic Trade Network and combined it with their own innovations. The result was something new, something powerful, something that worked. The base had three main purposes. First, it monitored space with sensors that humans had hidden across the outer regions. Second, it trained pilots and soldiers for combat. Third, it built weapons that used principles the alien species had forgotten or never discovered. Victoria's second in command was Lieutenant Colonel David Grant, a man who had flown fighters his entire adult life. David understood what Victoria was trying to do. He understood that they were preparing for something the galaxy's old civilizations could not see coming. "The latest reading from Sentinel Station 7, David said, handing Victoria a report. "The anomalies are getting closer. The pattern is consistent with what Dr. Graham predicted." Victoria took the report and read it carefully. The data was clear. The massive structures in the void were moving faster now. They were still 3 years away, but they were accelerating. Whatever was coming, it was hungry. "How many pilots are ready?" Victoria asked. 37 fully trained, David said. "Another 50 in the second training group. They are not as good yet, but they are learning fast." Victoria nodded. 37 pilots. 50 more training. Against whatever was coming from the void, it was not enough. But it was what they had. She thought about the ships in orbit. Earth had built 7 fighter vessels and 2 larger ships. They were small compared to what the great alien powers had, but they were fast and they were smart. Humans had designed them to work in ways that confused normal combat logic. They did things that no alien species would think to do because those species had always had superior numbers and superior technology. Humans could not afford to think like that. Humans had to think like hunters, like predators, like survivors. Dr. Nathan Graham worked in a different part of the base. His laboratory was filled with computers and data displays showing the movement of the shadows. Nathan had become obsessed with understanding what was coming. He studied every piece of information. He looked at old records from civilizations that had vanished centuries ago. He searched for patterns. And he found them. The shadows had appeared in records from 1,000 years in the past. A species called the Krell had written about them. The Krell were gone now, wiped out ages ago. But their records described the same phenomena, the same energy signatures, the same movement patterns. Nathan brought his findings to Victoria. "They have come before," Nathan said. "Not just once. Many times, across hundreds of thousands of years." "And they destroyed everything in their path?" Victoria asked. "Yes," Nathan said. "But there is something else. The intervals between their appearances are getting shorter. The first recorded appearance was 400,000 years ago. The next was 300,000 years ago. Then 200,000. Then 100,000. The pattern is clear. They are coming more frequently, and they are hungry." Victoria understood what this meant. Whatever was coming, it was not a random event. It was a cycle, a terrible, ongoing cycle that the galaxy's old civilizations had somehow forgotten or ignored. In another part of the base, engineers worked on new weapons. Humans could not match the destructive power of the great alien empires, so they had decided to try something different. They built weapons that used gravity manipulation, weapons that attacked electromagnetic systems, weapons that created interference patterns in space itself. One engineer was a woman named Claire Mitchell. She had worked for a technology company before Victoria recruited her. Now she spent her time designing systems that could hurt things that the galaxy said could not be hurt. "This one might work," Claire said. showing a blueprint to her team. It uses a resonance pattern that our sensors found in the shadow phenomena. If we can match that frequency and disrupt it, we might be able to stop them temporarily. Temporarily? One of the other engineers asked. Temporarily, Claire confirmed. We do not have time to design something better. We design what we can and we build it fast. Victoria made the decision to begin spreading people across Earth, some in the underground bases, some in hidden facilities in remote locations. She wanted humanity scattered. If something happened to one group, other groups could continue the work. Humans had learned this lesson from their own history. Survival meant redundancy. Survival meant spreading the risk. She also made another decision. She would begin recruiting people for the mission that she knew was coming, not just pilots and engineers. She would recruit soldiers, scientists, healers, and thinkers. She would recruit people who could adapt, people who could survive, people who were human. 3 years went by like this. Building, training, preparing, all while the alien civilizations continued their lives as if nothing was wrong. The Viridians traded. The architects built megastructures. The Zren expanded their cultural colonies. They did not see what was coming because they did not want to see it. On Earth, Nathan and Victoria checked the latest data one night. The shadows were accelerating. The time was running shorter. How much longer? Victoria asked. Nathan looked at the calculations. 1 more year, maybe less. They will reach the outer colonies first. The alarm will come then, whether the council wants to hear it or not. Victoria placed her hand on Nathan's shoulder. Then we make sure we are ready. And in the darkness of space, the massive structures continued their silent journey inward. Patient, hungry, unstoppable. Dr. Nathan Graham sat in the observation room of the research station, looking at numbers that made no sense. The data came from the new sensors humans had placed at the edge of known space, far away from the busy trade routes and comfortable alien worlds. These sensors were supposed to look for simple things like solar flares and meteor movements. Instead, they were showing something else, something that should not exist. Nathan was 42 years old and had spent his entire life studying space. He knew how stars worked. He knew how galaxies moved. He knew the patterns of the cosmos like other people knew the streets of their hometown. And these readings broke every rule he had learned. The energy signatures appeared 3 months ago. At first, Nathan thought his equipment was broken. He sent engineers to check the sensors. They found nothing wrong. He sent the data to other research centers around Earth. They confirmed it. Something was moving through the void. Something massive. Something that did not show up on normal light or radiation scans, but appeared in the gravitational disturbance and the way it bent space around itself. Nathan called a team meeting. 5 scientists gathered in the cold room, drinking coffee and staring at screens. Sarah Connor, a young physicist, spoke first. "It could be natural," she said. "A black hole we never cataloged. Dark matter organizing itself." Nathan shook his head. "Black holes have signatures. This does not. Dark matter does not move like this. Not in straight lines. Not toward something. Toward what?" asked Marcus Webb, the oldest scientist on the team. "Toward the center of known space," Nathan said. "Toward where the populations are. Toward us." For 2 weeks, Nathan and his team worked without sleeping properly. They gathered every piece of data they could find. They looked at old telescope recordings from decades before. They discovered that similar phenomena had been seen before, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, sometimes even further back. Each time, the reports came from the edges of known space. Each time, the observers reported the same thing. Massive structures moving slowly, moving inward. Nathan realized what this meant. Whatever this was, it had been coming for a long time. He made a decision. He would take his findings to the Galactic Council. The Council controlled everything in this part of the galaxy. They made the laws. They decided where ships could travel. They controlled the warning systems that protected all civilizations. If something dangerous was coming, the Council needed to know. It took Nathan 3 months to get permission to travel to the Council station. Humans did not have high rank in galactic politics. Earth had joined the galactic community only 30 years ago, and most alien species saw humans as children, young, unpredictable, not fully developed yet. The Council station orbited a star near the exact center of known space. It was a massive structure, built by the architects hundreds of years ago. 17 species had seats on the Council. The Viridians came first, a tall, elegant species with silver skin. The Zren sat next to them, beings of pure telepathy who communicated without sound. They were the Crystallans, the Architects, the Krell, and 10 other species. Each one had been exploring space for thousands of years. Each one had built great civilizations. And then there was humanity's representative, Nathan Graham, who had earned his seat through luck and the fact that humans had discovered something new about an old star system. He was the youngest person in the chamber. Nathan stood before the Council and explained everything. He showed the data. He showed the calculations. He showed the patterns from history. He explained that something was coming from the outer void. Something massive. Something that moved straight toward the center of the galaxy. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then the Viridian representative laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was the laugh of someone finding a child's worry amusing. "We have monitored space for 8,000 years, the Viridian said. "If something was coming, we would know. Our sensors are perfect. We have seen nothing. But look at this data," Nathan said, bringing new images to the center of the chamber where everyone could see. The Zren representative spoke without moving her mouth, her words appearing in everyone's mind at once. Young species see shadows in corners. They are not prepared for the reality of space. They mistake instruments for truth. The architect representative was made of living crystal. Its voice sounded like ice breaking. Humanity is new. 30 years is nothing. You do not understand what you are seeing. You interpret noise as signal. Nathan's hands were shaking. "I can show you the location. I can send you to the sensors. You can verify everything." The Council voted. 17 hands raised. The decision was unanimous. No immediate action would be taken. Instead, the Council ruled that the Sentinel Network, which was what humans had named their outer sensors, would be given to the Council for monitoring. Humans would no longer have direct access to it. Nathan understood what this meant. The Council was taking control. They were removing humans from the equation, and they were doing it with the certainty that humans were wrong. He left the Council station knowing that nobody believed him. Worse, he knew that he had seen something real. His data was good. His calculations were correct. But the great civilizations of the galaxy had decided that a human was not important. Enough to listen to. Nathan took a ship back to Earth. During the long journey through space, he did something he had never done before. He cried, not because he was weak, but because he knew what was coming, and nobody would believe him until it was too late. When Nathan arrived on Earth, he went directly to the military base where Commander Victoria Hayes worked. Victoria was the leader of Earth's space defense fleet. She was 50 years old and had spent her entire adult life preparing for the moment when Earth might need to defend itself. Nathan told her everything. He showed her the data. He explained that the Council had refused to listen. He said that something was coming, and the greatest civilizations in the galaxy had decided to do nothing about it. Victoria listened carefully. When Nathan finished, she stood up and looked out the window at Earth below. "Then we prepare alone," she said. "We do not wait for permission. We do not ask for help. We prepare. And from that moment, two humans began the most important work of their lives. They would build something that the Council did not know about. They would create defenses that the alien species could never imagine. Because humans had something the galaxy's old civilizations had forgotten. Humans knew how to survive when nobody believed in you. Humans knew how to fight when the odds were impossible. The shadows in the void kept moving. Silent, hungry, patient. And on Earth, Victoria and Nathan prepared for war. The first colony vanished without warning. It was a small human settlement on the planet Kepler 442b, a world in the outer regions of known space. One day, the colony was sending standard reports to the Galactic Network. The next day, nothing. No signals. No distress calls. Just silence. The Galactic Council investigated and found rubble. The colony had been there for 500 years. Now it was gone. They discovered that the entire star system was being consumed. The sun was dimming. The planets were being pulled into something invisible. Then 3 more colonies vanished. All in outer regions. All disappearing in the same way. All consumed by something that no one could see on normal sensors. The Council sent ships to investigate. None of them returned. Panic spread through the 17 civilizations. Emergency meetings were called. The Viridians demanded explanations. The architects began building defensive structures. The Zren pulled their far colonies inward toward the center of known space. On Earth, Victoria and Nathan watched as the alarm finally spread through the galaxy. The Council sent messages to all species. A threat had been discovered. Origin unknown. Nature unknown. Response being developed. Nathan sent a message directly to the Council. He included all his data from 3 years ago. He included everything that he and Victoria had discovered. He included his prediction of when the threat would reach the major population centers. The Council requested an emergency session with humanity's representative. Nathan attended in person. The Council chamber was in chaos. 17 species argued with each other. Some wanted to attack immediately. Some wanted to flee. Some wanted to build defensive walls around their core worlds. Fear had taken over rational thought. The Viridian representative finally noticed Nathan standing at the human section of the chamber. "You," the Viridian said. "You tried to warn us." "I did," Nathan said simply. "How much time do we have?" asked the architect representative. 4 months before they reached the military stations near the galactic core, Nathan said. 6 months before they threatened major population centers. The Council erupted again. 4 months. 6 months. It was not enough time to build proper defenses. It was not enough time to evacuate billions of people. The Zren representative sent her thought message directly to Nathan's mind. "What does humanity propose?" Nathan took a deep breath. "We have been preparing since you dismissed our warning 3 years ago. We have built defenses. We have trained soldiers. We have designed weapons. We cannot defeat this threat alone, but with the combined resources of all 17 species, we might survive. You were preparing while the Council debated." The architect's voice was sharp. "You were building weapons without authorization?" "Yes," Nathan said. "Because I knew the truth and you refused to hear it." The silence in the chamber was absolute. Finally, the oldest council member, a crystalline who had been alive for 10,000 years, spoke. "We must listen to what humanity has learned," the crystalline said. "We dismissed them. We were wrong. Now we must use what knowledge they have gained." The council voted. 17 hands raised. Humanity would take a lead position in the defense effort. All resources would be made available. All species would contribute. Nathan returned to Earth and found Victoria already mobilizing. The Council has accepted our help, Nathan said. Good, Victoria replied, because I am sending out the call. Every human soldier, every pilot, every engineer, every person who is trained and prepared. We assemble the fleet. We prepare for battle. Across Earth, sirens sounded. Humans left their homes. They went to the bases. They went to the ships. They went to the command centers. For the first time, Earth was mobilizing completely. Mothers kissed their children goodbye. Fathers checked their weapons. Lovers held each other one last time. Victoria stood before the assembled pilots in the main hangar. 700 humans stood in front of her. The strongest, the fastest, the smartest, the bravest. All of them had volunteered. All of them knew they might not return. We are going to fight something that is never lost, Victoria said. We are going to fight something that the greatest civilizations in the galaxy fear. And we are going to do it because no one else can see clearly enough to do what is necessary. She paused and looked out at their faces. Humans have fought impossible odds before. Victoria continued. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day. We survived because we adapted. Because we were smart. Because we refused to surrender. That is what we do now. We fight. We adapt. We survive. The pilots cheered. The ships launched that night. Hundreds of vessels rose from Earth's surface. They carried 700 pilots, 2,000 soldiers, 500 engineers, and 300 scientists. They carried Nathan Graham, who would coordinate the scientific response. And they carried Victoria Hayes, who would lead them into battle. As the ships left orbit, Nathan sent a final message to the Council. We are coming. We are ready. And this time, we will be heard. The shadows were 2 months away now, moving faster. Growing larger. The cosmos was about to learn that laughing at humanity was a mistake. Nathan's plan was simple in concept, but difficult in execution. Instead of fighting, they would negotiate. Instead of destroying the shadows, they would help them. They would do something that no civilization had ever done before. They would communicate with the enemy. This is impossible, said the military commander from the Viridian Empire. You cannot negotiate with things that consume entire worlds. You cannot negotiate with them using your weapons, Nathan replied. But you can negotiate with them using their own language. The plan required that humanity broadcast a message using the frequency that the shadows themselves used. Not a demand, not a threat. A message in the form that the shadows understood. A message of understanding. Nathan worked for 3 days straight, designing the message with the help of the remaining human scientists. They took the data from Victoria's sacrifice. They took the resonance patterns they had observed. They created something new. A message that said, we understand you are hungry. We understand your home is gone. We understand you are searching. The broadcast went out across the void. Nathan sat in the command center, watching. Around him, the leaders of 7 civilizations waited, waiting to see if this would work, waiting to see if Nathan Graham was right about understanding. The first shadow slowed. Its movement became less aggressive, less hungry. The second shadow paused entirely. Then, something unprecedented happened. The shadow sent something back. Not a weapon, not an attack. A message, data, information about what they were, about what they needed, about how long they had been searching. Nathan analyzed the data. The shadows showed him their history. A civilization that had once been beautiful and great. A region of space so rich with stellar matter that they had built a perfect home. And then a cosmic disaster. A wave of destruction that consumed everything they had built. They had survived, but barely. They had been traveling ever since, looking for another place to call home. They are not evil, Nathan said to the assembled leaders. They are just survivors, like us. Victoria would have understood this, Nathan thought. she would have seen it immediately. That was why she was the one who could have made this work. Nathan sent another message. This one contained a proposal. He offered specific star systems in the outer regions where matter was plentiful but no civilizations lived. He offered to help the shadows move to these regions. He offered alliance instead of war. There was a long silence. Then the shadows moved. They moved toward the locations Nathan had offered. They moved with purpose instead of desperation. They moved like people going home. The war was over. The celebration across the galactic civilizations was mixed. Some species were grateful. The crystallines immediately offered their support for Nathan's continued leadership. The younger species wanted to learn from humanity, but some of the older civilizations were ashamed. They had dismissed Nathan. They had forced humanity to save them all. Nathan did not celebrate. He visited the memorial where the names of the dead were being recorded. 700 human pilots, 3,000 human soldiers, billions of others from all civilizations. He found Victoria's name on the list. Commander Victoria Hayes gave everything to protect those she would never meet. Nathan placed his hand on her name. He thought about what she had taught him, about courage, about sacrifice, about seeing clearly when everyone else was blind. The shadows sent another message. They had settled in the regions Nathan offered. They wanted to meet with humanity again. They wanted to understand better. They wanted to know how a young species could understand them so well. Nathan accepted the invitation. He took a small ship toward the shadows. Behind him, the combined fleet of the galactic civilizations watched. When Nathan reached the shadows, he felt their presence. They were vast, powerful, but they were not cruel. They were just hungry and lonely, searching for home. Nathan communicated with them. He explained that he understood loss because humanity had lost too. He explained that humans had learned to survive on a harsh world by understanding other creatures, by finding ways to live together instead of destroy each other. The shadows listened, and for the first time in thousands of years, they were heard. Humanity became the bridge between the civilizations and the shadows. Nathan became the voice of peace, and Victoria Hayes became a legend, not just to humans, but to all species in the galaxy. Millions of years from now, the story would still be told. The story of a young species that saw danger others could not see. The story of a commander who gave everything to protect the galaxy. The story of a scientist who chose understanding over destruction. The galaxy learned that the greatest strength was not superior weapons or older knowledge. The greatest strength was in seeing clearly, in preparing even when others laughed, in choosing mercy when you had the power to destroy. Humanity had taken its place among the great powers of the galaxy, not because they were strongest, but because they were wise. And in the outer regions of space, the shadows finally had peace. They finally had home. They finally had understanding. The cosmos trembled not from fear anymore, but from the knowledge that everything had changed. A new age was beginning. An age where even the darkest things could be understood. An age where even the hungriest things could find peace. Nathan looked back at Earth, small and blue in the distance. He thought of Victoria Hayes, whose sacrifice had made all of this possible. Then he turned toward the future, toward understanding, toward hope. The shadows, once feared, had become part of the family of civilizations. And humanity, once laughed at, had become the teacher of compassion. Everything had changed. Everything would continue to change. And it had all started with one scientist who was brave enough to see the truth, and one commander who was strong enough to act on it when no one else believed. The fleet assembled at Point Guard, a location selected by Victoria for its position between the advancing shadows and the major population centers. 3,000 ships gathered there. Hundreds from the Viridian Empire. Hundreds from the Architect Collective. Zren vessels that moved through space like thoughts. Krell destroyers, crystalline warships, and Earth 700 fighters surrounded by larger allied vessels. The combined force was impressive. The greatest military assembly the galaxy had ever created. And yet, Nathan knew they were not enough. He looked at the data from the sensors. The shadows were massive. And they were many. The first shadow appeared on the sensors at dawn. Not Earth dawn, but the arbitrary time marking they used on the station. It was a wall of darkness that bent light around itself. It moved through space like an enormous wave, consuming everything in its path. Victoria's voice came across the communication system. "All units, this is Commander Hayes. Hold position. Wait for my signal." The shadow kept moving. Closer. Closer. The Allied ships began firing. The laser weapons hit the shadow and did nothing. The photon torpedoes exploded against its surface and disappeared. The gravitational weapons bent space around it, but the shadow kept moving. "Fire resonance weapons," Victoria commanded. Human weapons activated. The frequency generators that Nathan and Claire had designed sent out waves that matched the shadow's own energy signature. For the first time, the shadow slowed. Its movement became less smooth, less efficient. "Fire everything," Victoria said. All 700 human fighters moved at once. They had been trained in maneuvers that no alien species would think to use. They had been trained to attack from unexpected angles. They had been trained to hit targets while moving at speeds that confused other ships' targeting systems. The battle became chaos. Human fighters dove into dangerous positions. They took risks that made the alien commanders nervous. A human pilot named Christopher Hayes flew his fighter directly at a weak point in the shadow's surface. He fired his weapons. He hit it. Then he pulled away, barely avoiding being consumed. The shadow began to retreat. For the first time, something had actually hurt it. But there was another shadow behind the first one. And another behind that dot. The battle raged for 18 hours. Ships exploded. Pilots died. Human fighters went into battle knowing they might not come back, and many of them did not come back. But they took the shadows with them. They drove them back. Victoria flew her own fighter into the heart of the battle. She coordinated attacks. She gave orders. She risked her life constantly. A co-pilot, a young man named Stephen Chun, worked the weapon systems. When an alien battleship was damaged and could not escape, Victoria moved her fighter in front of it and drew the shadow's attention away. "Commander, you are taking too much damage," Stephen said. "I know," Victoria replied. "That is the point." The shadow they were fighting was massive. It consumed matter at a visible rate. Victoria could see entire asteroid fields disappearing into it. She could see the structure of space warping around it. She made a decision. "Stephen, engage the resonance device," she said. "Commander, that is a one-way trip. You know that." "I know," Victoria said. "Do it." Stephen activated the modified resonance weapon. It was a human design, built specifically for this moment. It would generate a frequency so powerful that it would tear apart anything in a certain radius, including the pilot's ship. The weapon activated. The frequency erupted from Victoria's fighter. The shadow in front of her convulsed. Its movement became erratic. It began to collapse inward. Victoria felt the weapon tear her ship apart. She felt the impact. She felt herself falling toward the darkness. Her last thought was not of fear. It was of hope. Her sacrifice meant something. It hurt the shadows. It meant they could be stopped. Her fighter exploded in a brilliant light. The shadow she had attacked dissolved. Its structure failed. It ceased to exist. The remaining shadows paused. They had never encountered resistance like this. They had never met something that was willing to die to stop them. Nathan watched from the command station. He saw Victoria's fighter die. He understood what had happened. He made a broadcast to all remaining human pilots. "Commander Hayes is gone," Nathan said. "But she hurt them. She showed us how. Continue the attack. Use her sacrifice. Make it mean something." The human pilots responded. They flew in a pattern that Victoria had taught them, a pattern that seemed illogical but worked. They coordinated their attacks. They moved as one unit. They threw themselves at the shadows with complete dedication. The shadows kept retreating by the end of the battle. 2 of the 3 advancing shadows had been destroyed. The third had been pushed back far enough that the population centers would have time to prepare. But the cost was terrible. 170 human fighters had been lost. 3,000 soldiers killed. The Viridian fleet was reduced by half. The architects had lost their greatest battleships, and Victoria Hayes was dead. The surviving forces regrouped. The alien commanders met with the remaining human leaders. They argued about strategy. They argued about whether they could continue fighting. Nathan left the meetings and went to look at the data alone. He studied the destroyed shadows. He analyzed their structure. He looked at their behavior, and he saw something that no one else had noticed. The shadows were not attacking efficiently. They were not using their full power. They were moving in patterns that seemed almost desperate. Nathan studied the energy flows within the shadows' bodies. He looked at how they consumed matter. He ran calculations for hours. Then he understood. The shadows were starving. He went to the surviving commanders and told them what he had discovered. At first, they did not believe him. But when Nathan showed the evidence, they could not deny it. The shadows were not trying to destroy civilizations because they were evil. They were consuming them because they were hungry. Because their home region had been destroyed long ago. Because they had been traveling through space for thousands of years looking for food. What does this mean? Asked the remaining council member present. Nathan thought of Victoria. He thought of the pilots who had died. He thought of the billions of people in danger. "It means we have another choice," Nathan said quietly. "It means we do not have to fight them all the way. It means we can try something else." "What?" demanded the architect representative. Nathan began to explain his new plan. A plan that no military commander had considered. A plan that Victoria Hayes might have approved of. A plan that could save them all.